I was a stay-at-home mom as far as they were concerned, because I was the one taking them and picking them up, and I was there, most evenings, just like very normal to them. But during the day, it was a totally different story. So I worked hard.
But you got to spend the time with them, and you got to teach them the Word of God. And there's so many women, though, that don't get that opportunity.
That's right.
They might not have been saved at that time.
Yes.
And so there might be a lot of regret for women. Can we just touch on that it's never too late? It's never too late.
This is something that you two and I got to talk about a little bit before we even got to come out and serve, is that we both felt so strongly, all three of us, that we want to make sure that you understand that God is so gracious, and to look back on it. Listen, I've got so many regrets, and just so that you have an accurate idea of a little bit about the dynamic in our home, my husband was not the deacon kind. I don't have a pastor husband. He was not into the same kinds of things. He went to church when he wanted to. And so some of the things that I was doing regarding spiritual upbringing, I was negotiating pretty carefully with what our home dynamic was, so that I was not offsetting what he really also wanted to pour into him. So it wasn't a very easy thing, and there was a lot of maneuvering around our dynamics. So all of us have regrets. But I want to say something. I think this is so important, Victoria and Laurie, that people hear. It's never too late to go back in there and say, not that we're going to relive their childhood, but to go back and really long for and fight for relationship, even with adult children that you were not close to when they grew up. Maybe you had lots and lots of problems when they were little. Maybe you feel like you have more regrets than you have things that you feel good about. I want you to know God is such a restorer, such a repairer of broken roads and bridges, and He's so faithful. And one of the things that I feel strongly about, and somebody needs to hear this, I don't think that our kids expected us to be perfect. I think they expect us to be authentic.
Yeah.
And I think, don't you think? I think what they resent is hypocrisy, when we won't own it. And even if we look back and say, well, it's too late, I was a hypocrite. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about coming back now and going, man, I wish so much that had gone differently. And I know that hurt you, and I want you to know I am so sorry. Just owning where we think it went awry. I believe that when there is that authenticity, humility, and when we have prayed, God, make the way for repair here, and we're willing to take the time. That's so important, sisters, that we're willing, that sometimes when relationships have been worn down through years, they need a little time. We don't just jump back into instant closeness. Trust needs to be built up, and to let it happen and to celebrate it as it does. And so please don't lose hope. Don't let a program like this, the last thing we would want is that this somehow gets on you with guilt. There tends to be so much guilt in parenting, and particularly I think motherhood, even more than fatherhood. I think we just think, I did so many things wrong. Okay, God's so gracious. He's so merciful and faithful. Lay all of that out before Him, and just, Lord, how can we be a strong and healthy family now? He does things that are miraculous. I want to tell you one story before we go any further that has to do with this. A friend of mine told me not too long ago, I was just bragging on his dad. His dad is in his early 90s and just a fabulous man. And he said, I feel the need to tell you something. And I said, do. And he said, the man you know today is the man he has only been for 20 years. Now listen carefully. I said, well, okay, I'm trying to follow you here. And he said, oh, he had a serious drinking problem. And he named also temper, all sorts of issues going. And he said, this guy that we have now has been given to us as a gift in the last decades of his life. And it had totally redeemed for them. It's not that they went and relived all of those years, but they got to finish out their father's life with a dad that had come around to restoration with laughter and joy and soundness of mind. And it was just miraculous. And I thought, you know, you would think 72 years, I mean, that's set in stone.
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. What if the last 5 years went well? After 20 years the last 5 went well. You fight for it now.
Yeah.
Let God go before you and come in behind you. He's so merciful.
That's so beautiful.
So merciful.